Yes. You remember to introduce yourself. Oh, I'm Winona, because I almost forgot. And we wrote books.
Yeah, we did. So we have the And I Thought series, which is And I Thought Divorce Was Bad with Other. Okay, really, with Other Life Lessons, And I Thought Being Grown Up with it. And both of those are, well, one's available. And I Thought Being, never mind. Yeah, one of them is available on Amazon, on the Audible, and another one is going to be coming out soon, and then the rest of the And I Thought series available on Amazon, and the Mystic Guide series, and then, let's see.
And then I have Foreign Coffee, which is also available on audible.com. It is a romance novel. Yes, y'all, I actually completed one. What? Okay, I lied. It's not really a romance.
It's not.
It's romance-ish. And then I'm also the author of the Widow Debt series.
And we have If Only I Were Me, our new, pop poetry book that we have out.
And lastly, we are the founders of the 25 Hottest Authors.
Indie authors, artists, and advocates. Could you please get the title right?
I don't like that word, I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, anyway, magazine. And yes, you guys, it's 196 pages long. So if you're in isolation, you don't have something to read, we've got a 196-page magazine for how much?
Oh, yeah, thank you for just throwing out nicknames. Okay, so you can get that for $7.50.
All right, now we're done.
I know everything you leave at www.amblethought.com. Now we're done.
You're not here to hear about us. You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, please introduce yourself.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, wonderful interviewers. Thank you so much. I am smiling. My name is Sara Megibow. I am a literary agent. I'm sitting in my bedroom in Boulder, Colorado, looking at the beautiful Rocky Mountains with 1.5 feet of snow on them, which is a little terrifying. And I've worked in publishing for about 15 years, and I represent the amazing romance author Eliza Mann, who can introduce herself next. Oh, you wanted to know something about me. A couple things about me. I love to play Dungeons and Dragons. My husband and I have Dungeons and Dragons characters that we've played together for 22 years. And I love symphony orchestra. And as Eliza knows, I love to drink lots and lots of wine by sitting by the pool.
Okay. Dirty in her house. I know. Boulder's gonna see me after this whole Corona thing is done. Yep. Eliza?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on. First of all, I'm Eliza Mann. I am a contemporary romance author. I also enjoy paranormal and urban fantasy as well. I live in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. I have 2 children who are pseudo adults. My son is 20, my daughter is 27, and she is married and gave me a wonderful granddaughter. So that's a little about my background. My book, Breaking His Rules, was out actually a year ago this month. So that's been a whirlwind. It's published with Penguin Random House, and it's a whole heck of a lot of fun.
And Eliza's first, second, and third favorite thing in the world are her granddaughter.
Oh my gosh. That's all that matters, my granddaughter. I don't want to talk about anything else. Just my grandbaby.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. I love it so much. I love it so much.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I thought I was going to ask Sarah the first question. Do you guys mind if I start with some questions?
Well, you're going to do what you want to do. The other group is going to do what they want to do.
Do what you want to do.
So, Eliza, you said you were published by Random House?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Okay, how did it feel to be published by one of the big 5? Because we all dream about it.
So I'm hybrid. So I have some self-published works as well. And I started my career with a small press, Soulmate Publishing. So that was my very first, foray into publishing. After that, then I tried my hand at self-publishing. So I'm a hybrid author. When I was signed with Sarah, she was like on my list. If I get signed with Sara Megibow, I am great. That is everything I need, right? So naturally, I met her, I signed with her, and she helped me kind of guide my career. She submitted to Random House, and when Sarah called, I'm like, what? Random House? So it was kind of a dream come true. It's one of those things, like everybody, it doesn't happen for everybody, and writing is a very difficult publishing path. So naturally, when I received that contract, I celebrated for about a week and a half with some wine, lots of wine, then more wine. And and then, reality kind of set in. They were really kind to me. The process was not as scary as I thought. I think a lot of times we go, oh, when I get this contract, what happens if I can't produce? What happens if, I'm not that imposter syndrome sets in and that kind of thing. But they walked me through that. I had a fantastic editor. The staff was great. So it was everything I wanted. So yeah, it was just amazing. And then I had Sarah. So,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, let's hear about the flip side.
Not is it the flip side? It's kind of like the work behind the Random House.
Yeah.
Did you get into Random House?
Yeah, something like that. The work that had to happen behind the scenes, Sarah.
Yes, that one. That's the one I was trying to say, y'all.
We haven't had yet.
We haven't had cake, and I was over here thinking about cake. I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh my gosh, who isn't thinking about cake? So what happens behind the scenes? I think for a literary agent, probably 90% of my work comes once we sign that contract. And Eliza was very patient. And of course, she's extremely talented and she has lots of ideas. So you are going to see her name on the bookshelves a lot. So once we have a book contract, then the agent's job is to make the client money. And that comes in terms of an advance, which is an amount of money that the publishing house pays to secure print rights to a book. It also comes in terms of royalties, which is how much the author makes kind of per book sale. And it comes in terms of subsidiary rights, which are audiobook rights, translation rights, Hollywood rights. And, those keep me really busy. That along with, there's a big, huge file that I have of what are my clients working on next. And so Eliza has a fantastic idea for an historical, and she has a fantastic idea, lots of ideas for paranormals. And in fact, the first book I saw from her was a vampire book. And I was like, oh my gosh, vampire books might be hard to sell. And we are still going to sell that book, I'm serious. I love it. So every time I have an idea, or every time Eliza has an idea, I populate these files so that I know what my clients are working on and what publishing houses are interested in for them. So, literary agent's job isn't to read query letters. I can't call up Eliza and say, I'm so sorry, I did not follow up on that Hollywood lead this week because I was busy reading query letters. I can't do that. Like I said, 90%, probably 38 hours of my week are spent with my current clients working on stuff. And it's a lot of behind the scenes work. It's a lot of data analysis and documentation that's boring, frankly. It's boring. People say, oh, it's really, tell us about the query slush pile. That's the interesting part. And of course, getting books on bookshelves is the interesting part, but the data analysis and the process documentation is pedantic. I kind of like it because it's quiet work that I can do while looking at the mountains, and I get to work with amazing people. But does that answer your question? It was kind of babbly.
No, I love it. I absolutely. In fact, I had a follow-up question.
Oh,
now,
right. Okay, good.
We had a writers' conference last week, and then we had like a bunch of people before.
And then we were on a writers' conference. So that was exciting.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we've been interviewing a bunch of literary agents. So, of course, my follow-up question for a literary agent now is, you said that you take a list of what they want to work on next. Now, I just recently learned that certain literary agents only have relationships with certain editors. So does that create a huge problem for what your client wants to work on next, or do you have to develop a whole new relationship every time they want to work on something that's like not in that genre?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I wish more people asked that question. I only represent romance novels, like what Eliza works on, or middle grade novels, or young adult novels, or science fiction fantasy. And so I do not know the editors who acquire memoir, or literary fiction, or mystery, or picture book. So if, like Eliza, if you all of a sudden wanted to write a picture book, we'd have to probably find another agent to do that, or do a lot of behind the scenes work to figure out who those editors are. But yeah, you're right. I only know a limited number of editors, and it's the genres that I represent at the big five houses and the reputable middle-sized houses like Source Books in Kensington and Houghton Mifflin and a couple others.
Kensington, we get to interview them next week.
Oh, yes. I love it. Yes, their team is amazing.
Oh, I need to interview more people at Kensington now. Thank you for saying that, yeah. Because the email was like, would you like to interview anybody else? I'm like, I don't know. I think 2 was enough, right? No, I'm going to ask for more now. Thank you.
So, Eliza, I have a question. How important is the agent-writer relationship? Thank you. My brain. I'm seriously on cake.
Everybody doesn't have an agent, right? And for me, I set out knowing that I wanted an agent. I set out knowing who I wanted as my agent. That may not necessarily be the case, but if you do decide that you would like an agent, which, you know, can make a writer's life a bit easier, I do believe that it needs to be someone that you really get along well with. I've seen some agent relationships with some authors where, you know, maybe they had to end that relationship because, you know, it wasn't exactly the right fit. It's like any other relationship, you know. Fortunately for me, I love my agent. I had met her before, though. I was a president at an RWA chapter, and I had the opportunity to meet lots of agents, lots of people in the publishing industry. And when I met Sara, we went to dinner, you know, and you know, we just started talking, and we could have talked forever, right? That is the kind of thing that you want. You want an agent that is someone that you can talk to. Scary, scary industry we're in. Authors make at the very top sometimes $20,000 a year, you know, and it's really important to have someone that you can flesh out ideas, you can talk about things that you want to do, and someone that's going to help you guide your career. They need to be your partner. So if you don't have that, I don't know how successful either of you are going to be in that relationship. Ultimately, you both want to be in it to make some money, right? So, you know, you're going to perform at your best if there's someone that you respect and someone that appreciates you. I don't know. What do you think about that, Sara? How important is that relationship?
It's what I'm trying to think is, how many times a week do we probably email? Once or twice?
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 times, something like that. And I feel like the questions you've always asked me have been really smart questions. Things where I think, oh, I'm so glad you asked that because I do have an answer. Let me put it out there for you, and then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But do you ever feel like I've given you answers that you don't like?
I think you've definitely given me some hard truths before.
Okay.
You know, like I'll be like, I really want to write a space opera with rabbits. And she'll be like, no, girl, you can't write a space opera with rabbits. There's no market for that right now. And so you do need someone that's going to tell you, that's going to kind of reel you back in when you're a little far out there, because we creatives can be very creative. And again, there's that important part where, okay, there needs to be a market. And I think it's important for you to feel comfortable enough to tell me those hard truths. I think that comes with the relationship building.
See, I think that's true. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm glad that you took that news well, space opera with rabbits. I think probably the hardest conversation we've ever had was about audiobook.
Oh,
because Breaking His Rules is not an audiobook, but there's a really strong market reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was maybe, a year ago, 15 months ago, where you said, well, where's my audiobook? This is ridiculous. And I actually have data to prove why Breaking His Rules wouldn't have been a good audiobook. And it's because the length of the book is a little bit shorter, and audiobook sells better and a little bit longer. So there's a market strategy for not putting Breaking His Rules into audiobook. But I feel like when you ask me that, like, those are the kinds of things that author and agent talk about. And when you asked me that, it was really refreshing to go, oh, that's right. That's something, because Eliza's a debut author with Random House that that not everybody knows, and that we should talk about and see if that makes you feel comfortable or not.
Yeah.
So that's bad for you. You're with one of, I don't know. So we have a few associates who are bestsellers. Yeah. And they were saying that even with them, if something goes bad with them during a contract, and they're like, they have an audiobook and it didn't do as well as the book, the next time they ask for an audiobook, they go, blah.
Yeah.
There's a long pause, and then they say, we'll think about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the one thing you want to not happen to you for your publisher. That's hence why you have an agent to go, yeah, wrong question. The next question should be. But anyway, I do have I do have a question for Eliza.
I had a question for Eliza.
But Jade,
I do have a question for Eliza. How important, because you said that you knew you wanted Sara, but how important was it that you did your research on your agent?
So absolutely important. First, when you are querying, that's a long process in itself. It's nerve-wracking for authors. You probably know that. It's a little stressful to make sure you're putting the right thing on paper, but it's even more stressful if you send it to an agent that might not necessarily take your genre. So one of the things that I like to do was look at people that I had things in common with as a professional author. Who would I be interested? Who do I read? So I read Tiffany Rice, right? And that is Sara's client. And other folks, lots of romance authors were complimentary of Sara in addition to her personality. So yes, please do the research. It's worth the Google to say, okay, what agents are taking, sci-fi? What agents are taking, a subgenre of romance? How often do they have clients who are successful? That's something that you want to know too. So, and then where in the market are they placing those folks? Is that somewhere that you want to be? So those things, are going to be very important in how your career will go if you do sign with that agent. I would say also pick a few agents, because every agent doesn't accept everything that you send out. So I had a couple of great agents in mind. Sara was right at the top of the list, but I had okay, what if Sara doesn't want me? Because they can only take so many authors a year. Like Sara mentioned, there's a lot of work that goes into your current client list. So I thought it was important to have like 3 top agents that you believe that you can work with. And even then, sometimes, when they say, okay, I like your work, and you have that initial conversation, maybe you just don't vibe the way you thought you would. So have a few in mind. Definitely do the research, and don't be disappointed if they don't take your work right away. Sometimes just try again. I sent Sara probably 4 manuscripts.
4? Oh my gosh.
And she was like, no, this is the one. I like this one. So, it is a process, but it's worth the research. Take your time, find out who you want to work with.
That's fabulous. Okay, so I feel like we need to even out the time now with the chatting. So I'm going to have to ask the question for Sara and skip my Eliza question.
Oh, no. All right, I'll ask Eliza a question. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, and this is also personally, I'm the narcissist, so it also has to do with me personally.
Oh, my
so,
goodness.
When it comes to doing those Hollywood subsidiary rights, what should people be thinking about? Because, I think every author has a book and they go, I want it to be a movie. But what does that literally look like behind the curtain?
I think as an author, like Eliza said, you should be partnering with a literary agent that you trust, so that when you can ask that literary agent, how are my audiobook rights or my translation rights or my Hollywood rights going, that they can give you a full answer. So the short version, let's just say Hollywood. The short version is that I work with Hollywood co-agents. So I send books to Hollywood co-agents, and then the co-agents do what's called packaging, which is finding producer, director, financier, et cetera, screenwriter, et cetera.
Yes, I love to interview packages.
Yeah, it's
there are people to interview after you interview a package, because we know all of those people.
Yeah, that's a producer, for example, their goal is to have 100 titles in a catalog. I'm just making this is just an analogy. And then they take those 100 titles and they shop it around to look for a package. So if a book gets optioned, it goes into that catalog, and then it has like a 1 in 100 chance of actually getting picked up. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but I feel like what you ask, so what does an author need to know? And the author should know that they should be able to ask questions of their literary agent specific to their situation. Does that help? I think
on this right. I'm sorry, Jade. Sorry, so sorry. I have been rabbit hole. Yeah, I'm going down this rabbit hole. Sorry. I have been trying my darndest to get on the show someone who can explain foreign rights to us.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of thing. Can you quickly just explain what goes into finding foreign rights?
Yeah.
How don't A, B, and C it. Okay.
Yes. So
my weekend cake is on the line here. I'm going to keep it simple. What goes into foreign rights?
Let's see. How do I put this? Translation rights or foreign rights. There's only 2 places that are capable of selling those for a client. One is the literary agent, who would then partner with foreign co-agents. 2 is the publisher, who would then partner with their in-house foreign co-agents. So if we sold a world rights deal, then the publisher shops the rights. If we sell a world English deal, then the literary agent shops the rights. But either way, what happens is that entity, that company, whether it's the publisher or the literary agent, puts the title in a catalog and then contacts publishers in Italy, Germany, France, Indonesia, the Netherlands, etc. So let's imagine Germany. Germany might have 5 reputable romance publishers. The co-agent presents Breaking His Rules, as well as 10 other titles to each of those 5. And then those publishers say, yes, I'd like to read it, or no, I don't like to read it. Yes, I'd like to make an offer, or no, I would not like to make an offer. So it's exactly the same process as an author looking for a literary agent. It's just the next step removed. The literary, then we're looking for a publisher overseas. So it's in no way do those people ever call the author and say, okay, here's your update. This publisher and this publisher have asked, and this publisher and this publisher haven't asked for it. All we really see is when we get offers. And it's very, very common, at least in genre fiction, especially in romance, for those offers to come in pretty late in the game, like 1 or 2 or 3 books into a series, not 3 months before release, typically. And there's a lot of loopholes to what I just said, of course, but that's the general process. An indie author is not going to be selling translation rights, probably, because unless they have a literary agent to do it for them. But a publisher like Eliza with Random House has the Penguin Random House subsidiary rights team shopping her books to foreign publishers.
Yeah, that's nice people. I've met a few.
That's fabulous. So at least we know our pop poetry will never be translated.
Well,
that's exciting.
It's complicated because, a big New York Times bestselling author might not get deals in France, Italy, Spain, etc. Because it is ultimately up to the publishers in those countries to make the offer or to not make the offer, and they know the market. But we have to have a conduit. And the conduit is either the literary agent whose company and or co-agents shop the rights, or the publisher. It's a lot.
Fabulous.
Okay, good.
That's fabulous. It was clear. We got it.
I finally got an answer, so I know what they do.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Love it so very much.
Okay, one of the things that I loved about Eliza's book, Breaking His Rules, is it's set in Detroit. Because I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, and so we used to sneak over to Detroit for all of our fun. Right? And this was in the 80s. And, we'd go up to the jazz clubs, and we'd go to baseball, and we'd go to, downtown before there was a wonderful Greek town. And so I know how to talk about Breaking His Rules, not only from a perspective of having like this amazing, gorgeous, strong, smart Black heroine, but also in terms of having like the setting being in Detroit and sort of reclaiming Detroit for its beauty and its fun in a way that I grew up knowing it. And those are the kinds of pitches that I used to shop Breaking His Rules, and that's exactly the kind of speech that the publisher and or co-agents would use in shopping it to the foreign publishers. Right. So, someone's sitting across from a foreign publisher going, okay, I've got this book and it's set in Detroit and it's got, a hilarious, wonderful, fun Black heroine and a British hero. And, and that's how they're talking about the book. And then the German publishers and the Italian publishers and the Spanish publishers will say, oh, yes, I want to read it. Oh, no, I don't want to read it. Oh, yes, I'd like to make an offer. Oh, no, I don't care to make an offer. But it's just like that.
It's fabulous. And first of all, I wasn't trying to talk about Detroit because, I love Detroit.
Oh.
I have loved Detroit since I was a child.
Right.
My parents, we did
shopping.
They did summer trips in Ohio, and we always went to Detroit and went over to Canada.
So hold on real quick. I just want to say, Cedar Point.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And then, of course, what's in Pittsburgh?
Kennywood.
Kennywood.
Cedar Point.
And then you go over to Detroit
and just hang out.
And you hang out and you do your shopping and you eat and you hang out for a while.
And then you go to Canada.
Drive up to Canada.
I have a 4-day trip to Cedar Point.
I was like, she went to Canada at 18 to drink. That's what she did.
Oh.
I did too. Windsor. I can't remember the name of the bar. Can you remember? It's like right over the border. We go over the top.
Oh.
I can't remember.
No, but it's going to come to me.
Yeah.
I just remember drinking with you in Denver, and you kept hitting on all of our police people.
They were so cute. Oh, they were babies. They were probably in their 30s. Yeah. And I'm like, let me see your tattoo. Oh my God. Worst school ever.
Okay, so the next time that we're in Colorado on tour,
we're gonna totally let you guys
we are so gonna let you guys
go. We can go.
Because it was boring last time. We were only there for like a day.
Yeah, and it was boring.
We were like, we don't like.
But we ate well though. Like I ate a lot, which is always a good thing for me.
Yeah. In Colorado, it's steak and lamb. That's what you eat. And I do not partake of the marijuana because I'm too old. But I've heard that it is fun.
Well, we've heard it. So we were like, oh, okay. I think our assistant.
It's our assistant, yeah.
We were like, enjoy. We're gonna go eat some food now.
No, there's marijuana shops where you can go and like smell the bouquet of each individual kind. I'm like, forget it. I can't. I'm too old for that.
Eliza, did you at least go visit?
I went, so when I went, I was at a RWA conference, and Sarah took us around. We went to Boulder Bookstore,
yep.
And we rode in a bus. No, it was a party bus, and had champagne the way there. And I was with a bunch of romance writers, so they kind of made it like extra fun, you know. So I think when you have like 2,000 romance writers anywhere, it's going to be just a bunch of fun. So so we did a lot of like sightseeing and drinking, and no, I didn't have the marijuana either. I'm a bit older myself, so but it was a lot of fun.
I particularly liked the part where we were trying to get the debut authors to say blowjob.
Wow. Okay. All right. I feel like this shouldn't be recorded. Like we should not record it for about.
I just have to say this one thing.
You can edit that out.
I'm sincerely missing this tour. How did we? This is sad.
But we got that romance. We write poetry.
Oh, right.
What were we doing? Sitting in. We were just thinking like, hi. So what do you write? Poetry.
Romantic. No.
Just poetry.
But you guys sound like you have fun. I gotta say though, like we do this award show every year. We give awards to people in literature, media, and journalism. And every year the romance writers are like the most.
Every year.
Like afterwards, we're like, so what are we doing? And Jade and I are like hanging out with the romance writers.
Yeah, because they're about to be
and the Hollywood people, the romance writers and the Hollywood people, and it's so funny because they really don't think they'll get along, and then you go out for like a drink or two, and they get along. This is what I'm saying.
So anyway, let's go back to professionalism.
Oh right, we were supposed to be.
Liza, where can people find more about you and your book?
So you can visit my website. Always up to date. My agent always gets on me about that. It's LizaManAuthor.com. My book, Breaking His Rules, is available at any e-publisher. The links are available on my website. So you can just navigate there. You can find all of my self-published work, my small press work, and of course, Breaking His Rules.
Fabulous.
Sarah, I'm pretty sure you don't want people finding you like that all the time. But, you know, in 2021, what conferences do you think you'll be going to?
You know, I am going to one in Indianapolis in January. It's the ALA Midwinter. And my travel schedule is always updated on Publishers Marketplace. And I am on Twitter at Sara Megibow.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, let's put this back. Okay. Yeah. We were.
So, like, I feel that you should probably add a book festival for 2020, but we'll discuss that later.
Oh my gosh. If they would let me out of this house, I'd be happy to do it.
We a virtual one.
No, it's our book festival and it's virtual.
Oh, that's much, all right. As long as I don't have to wear pants, I'm in.
Well,
I was sincerely joking. Okay, Jane,
I think my 2020 is canceled, and I'm just like, I'm going to wear pajama pants.
Yes.
For the rest.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where we are in this house also.
Yeah, okay. So you can check out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com, not thought.com. And when you're at our website, take a moment to go to the ladies page and go to the middle of the page and see the charities that we probably support. Yes, we know that times are hard and that people really maybe don't have any spare money, but maybe you can have some spare time and help out the charities. That way, volunteerism, win-win for everyone. So remember that wisdom is all around you. It's
open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and